I have a post prepared for the Facebook page. If you are unsuccessful, Gina.
Turn that one on.
Yeah, I think we should go ahead with that. I'll keep trying just in case it somehow works, but go ahead and post.
All right, we'll start out with roll call, and not exactly sure how to do this other than start out with Jimmy since he's in my top left corner.
Okay, yeah, I'm here.
I'm here, Ray Miller. Pam,
Pamela Reed.
Mr. Timmerman,
I'm here.
Dan,
I'm here.
Michael,
I'm here.
Gina,
I'm here.
Carl,
Yes, in an observer capacity.
Melissa,
Hi, everyone. Melissa Thorne, town staff.
Tony,
I am here.
Katie,
Hi, everyone. Katie Moore, town staff.
and then I have 301-748-4943. I think we're good.
Those two numbers are Charlene Singleton.
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, Charlene, and David Warrington. Both town staff, our town administrator and our senior accounting clerk.
I don't believe I missed anybody. So we'll go on to our reports. Council report from Pamela Reed.
So the only thing new that I have to update from our meeting last week is that the Planning Commission met last night. And of course, the number one topic was Harrison-Lashire annexation. Planning Commission has about 120 days to make a recommendation to Town Council. Most of what happened last night was the Planning Commission listening to public comment. So there really isn't anything new to report, other than the annexation agreement is in front of the Planning Commission. They have 120 days to review. I'm sure there will be multiple public hearings so that we can receive public input, and then they will make their recommendation and send it back to Town Council. So other than that, there really isn't too much more to update.
All right. Go on to community development from Melissa.
Hey, I don't have a whole lot to update either from last week. I just want to say if anybody is looking for information about our town, they should subscribe on our town website to receive updates about community events. They can choose anything from Planning Commission to Town Council, Water and Sewer, etc. And each month we send out a newsletter, thanks to Gina Campanelli, and has a lot of cool town information on there. So you just sign up with either your cell phone number or your email address. And it's pretty simple. Just go to our website and look for the notify me button. So that is it for my updates.
Thanks, Melissa. And I think the real reason why we're here tonight is the old business, is the Business Assistant Loan Program, which I was not part of the meeting the last meeting. So you're going to have to bear with me on what we're doing. I guess we're reviewing the draft plan, which I have not read.
Okay.
So I don't know if somebody wants to take over at this point. But
I will lead the discussion. What we had talked about last week, we had introduced a draft that I had written, and David and Charlene had helped give their suggestions into molding this program. We know that there is $33,770 budgeted for a loan program, and that is just for this year through June 2021. And the council had discussed this in conjunction with the grants and trying to get this jump started because of our COVID-19 relief packaging sort of this year. So we had a successful grant where $19,000 were given away to 19 businesses, and that was in $1,000 each. And they had to apply with their eligibility, and they had we had our review committee reviewing those grants and making those awards. So now we have the opportunity to prepare a loan program that would also assist our business community. How it is written up is a very draft form. It's not very pretty on one sheet of paper. And what I'm looking for as staff is expertise from this commission. If there is an opportunity, this is it, to suggest how this loan program may function. And then we'll be able to take it as staff and have the mayor ensure that the program's written as he would like to see it and take it before the town council. And I would suggest that either we try and strive for the September meeting, which is really right around the corner, or an introduction at the October meeting, which I might be a little more comfortable with at this time. What entails is getting this loan program kind of the application finalized, the guidelines finalized, and tying that up in a ribbon, and then getting an ordinance drafted. So we'll be getting help from our town attorney to make sure that that's drafted correctly so that the town council can actually approve like the law to say that we can, as a town, loan funds to businesses. So it's kind of a big deal here. But tonight, really, no matter where you're at with loans, I'd love to hear from you and just get an idea is as you've seen it written. I know, Ray, you didn't get a chance to look at it yet. Any feedback that you have. I'm hoping that the ones who were at the meeting last week had a chance to at least sit down and read through the criteria. So with that, I'm going to just, instead of going line by line, I'd like to just open it up and see if anybody has any thoughts.
Hey, Melissa, I do have a couple thoughts. I don't know if they'll be well received or not, but the couple things I would like to see is the requirement or the addition of personal guarantees on this. With I'd like to have that removed. I just think in the amounts that we're talking about for these businesses, it could easily be a deterrent for any business that's looking to try and get a small loan to also have to put up a personal guarantee on this. It turns the paperwork even more into a headache for them, and I just don't see that being necessary for this type of loan, for this size of loan. So that would be my first real hope, that we can get that removed from this type of program. Anybody have any thoughts?
I agree. I had a question mark about that anyway. You're not talking that much money, so you're actually adding a guarantor to it, and who's going to sign up for that? First off, if they've got the $10,000, they can probably guarantee it themselves or give it to them and create their own loan program. So I think that should be adjusted.
Okay.
Anybody else agree or disagree?
So my only, I guess, input on that is I don't remember if it was Jimmy or Mike the other night, stated that $500, if we're going to administer this ourselves, is way too small. So I think with this money, we need to be a little bit more strategic and make the minimum loan requirement higher so that we can actually help, as opposed to just kind of handing out money. So if we raise the loan amount to a higher minimum, you know, depending on what we agree with that higher minimum is, would deter or determine if we take that out.
I'd suggest, as I did the other night, this is Jimmy, that at least $2,000 minimum.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say 2, but I'd even go as high as 5, just knowing how this is going to go and how we're going to be able to help people that are going to be looking for a loan, and the amount of work they're going to have to go into to get this paperwork together, potentially to get it to the committee that's going to then have to look over all the financials. If we at least remove the personal guarantor, and so we remove that piece of the paperwork, and then we increase the amount they're actually able to get to. If you guys are saying 2, I can live with that. I'd like to see it a little higher, just so that if you're going through the headache of making all this or filling out all this work, you're actually going to see something that could benefit you, that's not just going to drag on for a long time.
Yeah, I would like to see closer to 5.
And just doing the math here, I guess with 33,000, that would be about almost 7 or about 7 businesses you can help with that.
Yeah. So the reason why, like, part of that argument is too, you know, we had $30,000 that we could have handed out, and we didn't receive 30 applications. So the businesses that truly need $5,000 are going to take the time to complete the application process. That's just my thought.
All right.
I'd agree with you, Pam.
Yeah, no, that's fine with me. I just didn't like the $500.
Yeah.
So 5,000, if
Do we need to vote on this?
Cool. You know,
Or are we just making
don't-
changes?
this really is just suggested changes for the
Okay.
purposes of this loan program. Yes. I don't believe we would need a vote for this. But, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share everything here with our mayor so that he can, know what was transcribed tonight. And I'm totally okay, you know, in line with making the minimum higher. 2,000 or 5,000. 5,000 seems reasonable. And I like your reasoning as well, Pam. Okay, anybody else have any comments?
the interest rate, what happens after the 3 years? What's it going to be? Or what's it going to be tied to?
So, David had a great suggestion, actually, after which an interest rate of 2% per annum would apply to the balance of the loan. So after the 3 years were up, and then I think that our review committee should be able to determine you know, the terms of that. So if payments throughout the years are, a monthly or quarterly or annually. So after those 3 years are up, and you know, if it's still not completely paid for, David, I don't know if you can unmute yourself for this, give you a little heads up. You know, how long the committee could determine how long that goes on for, so they could extend it. He might be having some issues with his.
So Melissa, I unfortunately don't have the draft in front of me right now, but the way you proposed it the other night, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 0% interest for 3 years, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then David suggested 2% interest would apply to the balance after 3 years.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had my notes right.
Yep.
So is there a length then of this thing, or how long are you gonna put up with not being paid off?
Right.
Is
We
that-
don't have anything listed. I had suggested at first it was just 3 years and then done. But I
Okay.
think extending it is okay with it, adding an interest rate after the fact if needed. And then the committee could determine if that would be all right, you know, depending on how that the cash flow is going. Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with loans. So we've got some extra staff here who are also learning, but we would need to determine that.
I mean,
Well-
part of me just thinks that if you have a loan of $5,000 and you have it for let's say for 3 years at 0%, by the end of that 3 years, you're going to get a notice that says you're about to incur interest. You might go ahead and get that paid off pretty quickly if you have the money around. You know, I don't think you're going to want to start incurring 2% interest on this or 3% interest on it, you know, depending on what your balance is. Hopefully they're paying it off gradually as it is. I mean, that's the intention. This is an assistance loan. This isn't, you know, a long-term SBA loan that they're using to operate their business. So, you know, hopefully the idea here is they get back on their feet and they get back to paying it off as soon as they get cash flow. So, you know, keeping it out for 10 years seems like a really onerous piece of loan agreement just for the town to get through.
Right, it is.
So Melissa, are we talking about deferring payments for 3 years or just zero interest for 3 years with monthly payments?
So we had suggested that the committee can determine this, but we would defer the payments for 3 months and consider deferring it for longer in special cases.
Okay,
So like, for example, if there was a business who was still closed and couldn't open, that certainly would warrant maybe an extension.
okay.
So then that business would have basically 30 months to pay the zero interest.
I'm sorry, there was a duck. Could you repeat yourself, Mike?
So in other words, you know, based on the 6 months, then an applicant would have 30 months to repay a zero interest $5,000 loan, which seems reasonable, but I think there probably does need to be a provision of some notice at the end of that 3 years that your loan still has an outstanding balance. Your loan will be amortized over a 24-month period at 2% interest.
Okay.
I mean, there probably be some step in place for those who have not paid it off within that 30 to 33 month period.
Great. Yep, something needs to be sent out to them. And I think with each, with each payment, they should be billed, they should have something to remind them to pay. So we'll be sending them communication as the payments are due as well. So we'll hopefully be able to have a sense of how that's going.
Melissa, have we thought about or looked at what the cost is associated to administer each loan?
No, we haven't looked at that. Certainly would depend on, how many loans we get, how many requests, and how many are actually made.
But I mean, the idea here is that if we're at $5,000, we're not going to have more than 6 or 7 loans total.
Right.
So the cost should go down. Time should decrease, all that.
Yeah, that's obviously another incentive for making the loan amount higher.
Totally agree.
Let's make it 7,000.
Well,
Make it 33,000.
33,707.
Jinx, you guys. That's great. Yeah, well, I mean, here we are. The purpose of this, we're trying to help our economy here, our local economy. So, but sort of how we were talking about with the grant, yeah, a bigger piece of the pie will certainly help them over a little bit to a lot. So, yeah, I mean, 5,000 seems conservative, I guess, because we're not sure what the requests are going to be. Maybe not higher than that.
So it should be stipulated then that you don't even want to go past the 3 years. My question was what then would be the interest rate? Well, even at a 3 year, a $10,000 loan, the payment is $277. So it should be probably going into this whole program. Okay, this is for 3 years. That's it. You know, next thing you know, if you do start extending, even with an interest, they're in trouble.
Well, what happens if they go into default on the loan?
That's going to be where the personal guarantee that kicked out's not going to take place. And that's an issue.
Now I have a question about the theory of that. If a company, the company doing business in town, if they apply for this, almost all loans require the owner of that company to also sign personally, guaranteeing, you know, if it's ABC company and John Smith is president of that company, typically he would sign for the company and as the personal guarantor. I think my objection to this was that it was another individual or group, you know, other than the business owner. But I would think that you're going to want that business owner to also be signing as a personal guarantor.
Yeah, it makes sense. Which I thought by the virtue of the loan itself, he is guaranteeing the loan, but that's just a line item.
Yeah, I mean, he's signed as president of ABC company, and then below that, he's signing as John Smith,
Right.
you know, personally, individually. So I would think that you're going to need that kind of guarantee.
That's what I'm leaning towards as well. I can't speak for our council, but I know as a town, you know, having a loan program, we'd like to put the funds back into the town, and I'd personally like to see us get involved in a revolving loan program in the future so that we can continually make loans and make improvements. But that would require funds to be replenishing that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're going to get this money back in. So, you know, in theory, if you do a little replenishment each year, this thing should be self-sufficient after a 3-year period. But the money should be back in to continue to make these loans.
And if it could be added to, as this money here is being prepared for this and earmarked for this, be added to, this could be as Melissa's suggesting, a revolving and a continuing program, and it might be an incentive for somebody to want to start their business or expand their business.
Say, folks, this is Tony. I just had a question. Are you going to have a requirement that the business make some payments, or leave it up to them as to whether or not they're going to pay it all off after 30 months?
Well, it in the current, it says payments deferred for 3 months, but would consider deferring for 6 months. So the way I read this, Tony, is that, you know, that there would be no payment due for the first 90 days, or possibly 180 days. But then, you know, monthly payments would be being expected to be made, like I say, for either over the next 33 or 30 months.
Right.
Well-
So I was also thinking monthly as it's written, but the more we're discussing this and thinking of our staff's time and how we don't even bill our water except quarterly, I would think we would want to look at a quarterly or an annual basis, probably over monthly.
I actually like that, Melissa. It would certainly, again, help reduce the costs, even though we're not talking about a huge amount. That's not a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony,
Yes.
you also had a question. Did you have any other questions about the committee members? At this point, the mayor will be appointing the review committee members, and it's looking like we'll be keeping it the same as the micro grant. So we've got Donna Marie Needle, Pamela Reed, Josiah Timmerman, Jimmy Linton, James Scales, David Warrington, Charlene Singleton, Katie Moore, and myself. And really just have to check with a few of those people just to make sure that they are still okay with continuing. But at this point, we have at least half the committee members okay with moving forward with, actually, last week, did we talk about the loan program and the grant program? Or did you all just think it was the committee for the grant program?
No, I thought the grant program has already been addressed.
No, we were adding you to the grant one and the loan one. I just wanted to make that clear.
Got that, Jimmy?
What was it?
You're on both the loan program committee and the micro grant program committee.
It's the same.
Okay, that's probably safe. If you put streets and roads, I got a lot of hell to raise. But, that's good. The other thing, it says on your draft, the program is run in-house. Are the people that you just named, the ones that are in, are they on that same?
Yes.
Okay, so you've covered the in-house people being able to not get dictated to, but be able to participate in these decisions or these suggestions.
Right. We have at least one other individual in-house that is not on the committee that may be assisting with the payments, but everybody else
Okay.
is in the committee.
So you've covered everybody. That's
Melissa, last month or at the last EDC meeting, I thought you or someone else had suggested that you didn't think necessarily the applicable or the appropriate businesses who could qualify for this had to be brick and mortar. But I see here you're suggesting they have to be brick and mortar businesses. Which way are you leaning now? I heard it a couple different ways.
It has to be brick and mortar.
Okay.
Another suggestion, just want to mention, in the event that the loan does not, that the recipient defaults on the loan, the town can take necessary action to recoup the balance by issuing a tax lien or another formal means if necessary, if they are property owners.
I would think that you've got to put some wording in there to be able to recoup the money. Otherwise, it's just going to be a grant.
Mm-hmm.
Has the town attorney draft?
No, he has not yet.
Okay, so before we go too far, that's something you're gonna have to chime in on it,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
which might change a lot of what we're thinking.
Melissa, what's our deadline on making any adjustments on this?
What I'd like to see is going back, town staff, myself, David, Charlene, Holly, Katie, taking another look at it and running it to our town council just to get their eyes on it again after you all have made comments here tonight. So we can see if there's any other suggestions before we get it in front of our council. I'd like to see it pretty much good to go by the time we get it to that table.
And then would you be planning on bringing a draft to the September EDC meeting that has kind of been being vetted by us today, being vetted by the committee, being vetted a little bit by the council?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could do that. I would like to see us set a goal to try and get it ready to go by October. So I'm looking at our calendar and I don't know, the meeting's probably on the 5th. So I'm trying to think when documents would have to be in by. Sometimes the Economic Development Committee meeting falls very close to that deadline.
Our September meeting is the 23rd.
Okay, so that may give us an advantage.
About a week and a half, or a little better than a week and a half.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so I'd like to see this go through all of those eyes this month, including our town attorney.
Well, I think that's what I'm kind of alluding to, so that we would get a look at something that would appear to have been acceptable to staff, town attorney, town council.
Maybe it can look a little prettier than how I have it presented here. Okay, any other comments back? Are we?
No, I want to take a chance to read over this myself, so that's why I was asking if there's a deadline on any adjustments. So,
I mean, I guess it would make sense, Melissa, for you to be open. If Ray ends up seeing something and has a comment, he could just email it to you, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
all right. So I guess next on the agenda, any public comments or business and concerns of pertaining to the agenda items? Is there anybody on here that would I guess everybody's made their comments. So our next meeting will be September 23rd, 2020 at 7 p.m. on Zoom. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Darren, motion.
Second.
Everybody have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you all.
Everyone, bye.